So during this gathering today, we want to speak in a way that you can feel as we feel and know as we know the reality of this vibrational reality. We want you to feel this vortex, and we want you to know its realness, and we want you, it is our desire to light a spark within you that makes you decide that you want to get in the vortex, that you want to be one of those cooperative components. Now, it's perfectly possible, may happen to you often. We see it happen to Esther, where you're bipping along, you're finding reasons to feel good, you're launching rockets of desire, and you're mostly in the vortex. And life is sweet when you are. People are kind to you, doors are opening for you, ideas are flowing, you have a feeling of well-being, a feeling of clarity and ease. You have balance. No matter what happens, you have your sea legs. All is well for you. And then something will happen that causes an reactivation of an old, maybe dormant vibration within you. Something happens and you view it, which causes you to offer a vibration that isn't consistent with the vortex. So all that happens is the vortex just spits you out. Because if you're not a vibrational match to it, law of attraction doesn't hold you there. In other words, you're called there. Spitting you out is a sharp way of saying it, but it really is accurate. Because law of attraction calls to it what matches and doesn't allow near it what doesn't. How about that? So if you are a vibrational match, if you are feeling worthy, if you're feeling confident, if you're feeling happy with yourself, you're happily in the vortex. But when you find a reason to find fault with yourself, out you go. Now, we want to present this in a way that you don't worry about getting spit out of the vortex, because you understand that this process that you are upon here in your physical body is 3 steps. You came forth to explore contrast. You came forth to know what you don't want so that you can more clearly identify what it is you do want. Without that comparison, none of us could move forward. So as you continue to add to all that is by knowing what you don't want, you're having a step 1 moment. And when you're having a step 1 moment, you're not in the vortex. Now, we're always in the vortex having our step 2 moment. In other words, when you launch a rocket of desire, you send it our way. And we see it and embrace it and know it and become a vibrational match to it. We focus upon it, and law of attraction responds to it, which means what you want is in the process of becoming, but it means something ever so much more important. It means you expanded to be more. And that's the thing that so many of you are missing in this business of creation. You think you're creating a car. You're not creating only a car. You're creating yourself as the holder of that better vehicle. It is you who is expanding. Life gave you the idea of expanse. And even though your ideas are about things you want or relationships you want, you are the expanded part of this. Can you hear this? So life keeps causing you to become more. And when you become more, the you that became more is always in the vortex. Step 2. Step 3 is you in your human physical form must find a way to get in there too. That's what the art of allowing is. Getting in the vortex, becoming a vibrational match to who you have become. Another way of saying it is, life caused you to expand. The larger part of you did. What's the rest of you doing? Hanging on for dear life. Beating the drum of justification and rationalization. I need it because I don't have it. I need it because I don't have it. I need it because I don't have it. And what we want you to hear is the vibration of I don't have it doesn't match what's in the vortex. So everything that we talk about, every book we've ever written, every process we've ever flowed to you, and there are dozens of them and dozens more coming, every process is about helping you figure out how to get in the vortex. And there's no cut and dried way, because your vortex is not exactly the same as anyone else's vortex. In other words, what you put in it and the vibrational components of it are unique to you. But it doesn't matter that it's unique to you, because you have a unique guidance system that is unique to you also. You have a unique guidance system that is letting you know in every moment what your vibrational relationship is between you and you. And the better you feel, the better the relationship is. The worse you feel, the worse the relationship is. In other words, you got to get tuned into who you are. So here's this vortex. Do you accept it? Here's this vortex spinning, and let's say that you are feeling some despair. You are pretty far from the vortex. So even though circumstances and events for all of the things that you've been asking for have already been arranged, you can't see them. Your cell phone's out of range. The message has been given. The clues are there. The path has been carved. It's all ready for you. But you're out of range because you're an ornery toad. And you say, with good reason, this happened, and 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 this happened. And we say, we didn't say that you're not justified in your negative emotion, but we will never say that your negative emotion, no matter what its reason, is justified. In other words, you're justified in the sense that you didn't make it up. But from our point of view, there is no excuse in the world that is big enough to keep you outside of this vortex where everything that you want is. It must just be a misunderstanding. We do not think that you would deliberately hold yourself away from who you are, from all you are, and from all you want. You must just be doing it because you don't know any better, or because you've got habits of thought that are a little hard to break. So this gathering is about figuring out how to change those thoughts, and therefore change that vibration, and therefore change that relationship, and therefore change that emotion, and therefore change the way things are manifesting in your experience. Now, we've been a little heavy here because you are powerful in your desire, and you're doing extremely well. Look how well things are going. But in order for things to go even better, you've got to make peace with how things are already going. Seems like a backwards approach. When we say to someone who doesn't have something they want, well, you just have to make peace with it. They worry. They say, if I make peace with it, won't the universe say, oh, she's happy with that. Don't bother going to work for her. We say, it doesn't work like that at all. When you make peace with it, you stop resistance. When you let go of the struggle, you soften resistance. Anything that makes you feel better allows you to be swept into the vortex more easily. Well, now you know everything we know that matters. There is nothing more that we could tell you that is of importance. Now you just have to practice getting in the vortex. Esther has been in and out of the vortex, more in than out, almost all of her life. And recently figured out how to get in there on purpose. And as she began to stay in there more consistently, in other words, in, out, in, out, in, out, in, out, in, out, in, she began announcing to Jerry, I'm never coming out. I'm never coming out. Because just the elation of life, the way she felt, the clarity of her mind, her response to the world, the way the world looked, the way the world was responding to her. Why would anybody ever want to be out of the vortex? And then something happened, out she was. She was really irritated about being out. But then she remembered how easy it was to get back in. She developed this sort of regimen where she would lay in her bed every night before she would go to sleep and make lists in her mind of things that she appreciated. And in the morning when she would awaken, she would lie there and find those things again. And then as soon as she would get up, she would go to a chair with Jerry, and she would begin doing a focus wheel to clean up any ragtail vibration that she had discovered in the last 24 hours, where she recognized that there was some vibrational work to do because she had had a little piece of negative emotion about something. And once the negative emotion was activated because of her attention to it, and then released or deactivated because of the focus wheel process that she was doing, she would go into rampages of appreciation and long lists of positive aspects. And the whole process took about an hour a day, 15 minutes before she went to bed, 15 minutes when she woke up, and then about a half an hour of processes. And she discovered that she could stay pretty consistently in the vortex. And that is what we wish for you. Now, if you're not in the vortex and you've got some negative emotion, which is your indicator of resistance, and you don't know it, don't worry, it will get bigger. And if you still don't notice it, don't worry, it will get bigger. Because everything that you are living at all times, every manifestation that surrounds you is an in the moment indication of the vibrational relationship between you and you. We're not kidding you. There is nothing that happens to you that is because of something else. The traffic you're in is because of this relationship. The way the waiter treats you is because of this vibrational relationship. The way the economy treats you is because of this relationship. Everything that you are living is an indicator of your vibration. Don't you love that? Don't you love knowing that if your body has some symptom or some diagnosis has been assigned, all it is an indicator of your vibrational relationship between who you've become and who you're letting yourself be. That's all that it is. So it would not matter what the diagnosis is that has been given to you. It's only an indicator of a vibration that you can change. So during this gathering, we want to show you how, regardless of what the reality is, you can change the vibration. And when you change the vibration, the reality has to change. You are invincible. There is nothing that you cannot be or do or have. You just got to know the rules of the game. You got to understand law of attraction. You've got to know what your emotions are telling you, and you got to want to get in the vortex. Good. Want to talk about some things? You do. Very good. All right, this is going to be a wonderful unfolding. So just relax. Make a decision that no matter what goes on in this chair, you're going to stay in the vortex. So let's say that somebody's been giving you a hard time, and so you've created and created and created recently really strong components. You've added them to your vortex. And now you've meditated. You know, when you meditate, you release thoughts, so you're in the vortex. Or you got on a rampage of appreciation, you're in the vortex. You stop doing those things that you do that kept you out of the vortex. And when you stop doing those things you do that kept you out of the vortex brings you in. And when you're in there, oh, it is so sweet. Your body feels good. Your mind is clear. It's evident to others around you. You're thriving. But then, even inside the vortex, the phone rings. You know who it is. Or something happens. And as you give your attention to this subject that is of a different vibrational frequency than the vortex spits you out. Because only cooperative components can abide. So you get the idea that we want you to release your resistance so that the vortex can take you in. But what happens if the vortex spits you out? Is it a problem? No. Because you came forth into this physical experience understanding that the creative process is 3 steps. Step 1, ask. And you need contrast to do that. If you don't have a variety to choose from, you have no way of asking. So step 1 is important. And step 1 happens in the majority of cases when you are outside of the vortex. You know what you don't want, you ask for what you do want. Step 2 is not your job. That's the job of source. That's the job of your inner being. That's the job of law of attraction. That's the job of the vortex. Step 2 is when you ask, it is given every single time. And it's not just given. The vortex and the source within you becomes the equivalent of all that you've been asking for. So step 2 is not your work. And step 1, you don't have to work at because the contrast just causes you to ask. Step 3 is your work. And what is step 3? Step 3 is to be conscious and aware of the way you feel, reaching for the best feeling thought you can find from wherever you are, so that you will allow the vortex to take you in. Allow your entry into the vortex. If we were standing in your physical shoes, we would be eagerly aware of this vortex of creation. But we would not freak out when we're having a step 1 moment. When you're having a step 1 moment, understand your relationship to the vortex. Say to yourself, I'm ornery as I can be as I'm having this step 1 moment, but the good news is I'm putting things in the vortex. In other words, at least be aware that that's what you're doing. And then say, and I know the happy old vortex is over there just spinning around, gathering all the cooperative components, but for now I intend to just complain. Because in my complaining, I'm adding more to the vortex. That's my justification. And we say, yes, you are. And we do want you to be easy when you're not in the vortex, but we want you to be in the vortex. And you don't need to worry. There is enough contrast that surrounds you that you'll have plenty of step one opportunities. Let your dominant intent be to be in the vicinity of the vortex. Let this loving, God-force vortex bring you in. Let yourself be all that you have become. That's what will happen when you have your, what you call your death experience. We call it croaking. We try to be as disrespectful as we can of death, since there isn't any. You're always alive, sometimes physically focused.